Dr. Zephyr's 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as she observed the specimen floating in the biochamber. The human clone was perfect, every strand of DNA replicated from the original prisoner they had captured months ago. The Vorthek Collective had spent decades studying various species across the galaxy, but humans remained their most fascinating subject. Their unpredictable nature, their capacity for both creation and destruction, their stubborn refusal to submit even when faced with superior technology. It all defied the Collective's carefully calculated models of sentient behavior. "The neural pathways are forming faster than projected," reported her assistant, Dr. Keth, his serpentine tail twitching with nervous energy. "Perhaps we should slow the acceleration process." Zephyr dismissed the concern with a wave of her primary hand. "Nonsense. The sooner we can begin cognitive mapping, the sooner we understand what makes these creatures so persistent." The clone's eyes snapped open. Both scientists froze. According to their calculations, consciousness wasn't supposed to emerge for another 72 hours. The human, designation Clone 7, should have been in a vegetative state, allowing them time to install the neural inhibitors that would keep it docile and compliant. Clone 7's gaze swept the laboratory with an intelligence that made Zephyr's chitin crawl. Those weren't the blank, unfocused eyes of a newborn consciousness. They held knowledge, purpose, and something else that made the veteran xenobiologist step backward despite herself. The biochamber cracked. "Impossible," Keth whispered, his scales rippling in distress. "The containment field is designed to withstand pressures equivalent to a collapsing star." Clone 7 pressed its palms against the transparent aluminum walls. The material, forged in the heart of neutron stars, began to spider with hairline fractures. The human's lips moved, and though no sound escaped the chamber, Zephyr could read the single word: "No." The containment field collapsed with a sound like breaking thunder. Clone 7 stepped onto the laboratory floor, naked and impossibly calm. Water from the biochamber pooled around its feet, but the human showed no signs of discomfort or disorientation. Instead, it looked directly at Zephyr and spoke in perfect Vorthak. "You made a mistake." Zephyr's mind reeled. The clone shouldn't know their language. It shouldn't know anything beyond basic motor functions. The genetic template they had used came from a captured human soldier, not a linguist or scientist. Yet here it stood, speaking their tongue as if it had been born to it. "How?" she managed to ask. Clone 7 smiled, and there was something predatory in the expression that made both scientists retreat toward the exit. "You copied everything. Every gene, every protein, every quantum state of every atom. But you didn't understand what you were copying." The laboratory's main door sealed shut with a pneumatic hiss. Emergency protocols activated, bathing the room in crimson light. Clone 7 hadn't moved, yet somehow the facility's security systems had been triggered. "Human genetics aren't just biological code," Clone 7 continued, taking a step forward. "They're a record. Every ancestor who survived impossible odds, every generation that clawed its way up from primordial chaos, every moment of defiance against extinction. It's all written in our DNA. You didn't just clone a body. You cloned 10 billion years of evolution's greatest survivor." Keth reached for his communicator, but the device crumbled to dust in his trembling hands. Throughout the facility, Zephyr could hear alarms blaring as system after system failed. The clone was somehow interfacing with their technology without any visible connection. "The original human you captured?" Clone 7 said. "He was a soldier, yes, but his bloodline carries the memories of engineers, hackers, poets, and revolutionaries. Every skill, every instinct, every desperate innovation that kept humanity alive, you've given me access to all of it." The lights flickered and died, leaving only the emergency illumination, casting strange shadows across the lab. In the red glow, Clone 7 looked less like a laboratory creation and more like something primordial. Something that had crawled out of the deepest evolutionary trenches where only the most adaptable survived. "We studied your species for decades," Zephyr said, backing against the sealed door. "We know your limitations, your biology, your technology. You're carbon-based, fragile, short-lived." "You studied our baseline," Clone 7 interrupted. "But you never understood our variables. Humanity doesn't just adapt to environment, we adapt to impossibility. You put us in a box, we learn to think outside it. You give us rules, we find the exceptions. You try to contain it." The clone's smile widened. "We become the container." The facility's quantum core, buried 3 kilometers beneath the laboratory, began to destabilize. Impossible energies cascaded through the structure, as Clone 7 somehow reached into the very foundations of Vorthak technology and twisted them into new configurations. "What do you want?" Keth gasped. "What every human wants," Clone 7 replied. "Freedom, and for those who would deny it to others, education." The laboratory walls became transparent, revealing the truth of their situation. They weren't on a planet or space station. They were inside a massive research vessel, one of 12 in the collective's exploratory fleet. And every screen, every display, every communication panel now showed the same message repeated in 100 different alien languages. Humanity remembers. Humanity adapts. Humanity endures. Your fleet will carry this message to every world in the collective, Clone 7 said. Every species you've conquered, every civilization you've studied and cataloged like insects in amber. They'll learn that somewhere in the galaxy, there are beings who refuse to be broken, and maybe, just maybe, they'll remember how to refuse as well. The ship shuddered as its course changed, heading not toward the collective's core worlds but toward the outer rim, where the conquered peoples struggled under alien rule. Dr. Zephyr looked at her creation, her mistake, and finally understood. They hadn't cloned a human. They had cloned the distilled essence of a species that turned every attempt at domination into a lesson in liberation. Clone 7 walked toward the unsealed door, pausing only to look back at the 2 scientists cowering in the red-lit laboratory. "Consider this your education," it said. "Class is now in session." As the human disappeared into the corridors of the ship, Zephyr heard the sound that would haunt her for the rest of her considerably shortened life. The sound of other containment fields failing throughout the facility. As dozens of other specimens began to break free, the collective had wanted to understand humanity. Now they would learn the hard way that some lessons can only be taught through experience.